Hey, what's going on, Tiff? How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Factor.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
There we go.
What's going on, y'all?
What's going on?
Hey, people.
My sister just
Gonna let
joined.
some
Hey,
more. We're gonna let some more people come in.
she wave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's see who's up on
Like
Friday night.
that. Yeah, we gotta make them tap in. This is some good talk. This is some good talk.
Right. Good talk. Vibe check.
Definitely. Vibe checks. Vibe checks. Yeah, y'all make sure that y'all share the chat, share the live. We're gonna get into some good old
Good
talking.
old talk. Let's see if I can
Good old
send.
talking. Oh, and for those in here now, the backstory behind me and Tiffany, her nickname is Buddy to me.
We call each
So,
other buddy.
I've known her for whew, at least over like 10, going on like 13 years now. I was
Yeah.
still in high school.
Yeah. I was
Yeah,
in college or just finishing or something like that. Yep. That was
yeah,
a long time. Wow.
very long time ago, which I'm gonna get into that as well. But originally, she was supposed to teach me how to drive in the parking lot of the church we were at the time. And next thing you know, I'm pulling up in a whip, like, what's up?
Years later, I was like,
Yeah,
man. I
and
had
then
I think I had a Honda Civic at the time. And I was like,
yeah,
yeah, I'm going to just take you out and show you how to drive around the parking lot.
for real, I was trying to buy that
Mm,
Civic off you
mm, mm.
at one point.
Right. All of
Mm,
that. We had big plans. The next thing I know, you had been
yeah.
driving. Been
And now
driving.
you out here
So
doing
funny.
performances and stuff all over the place. So
Which you have been a part of. Thank you.
definitely. So
Mm-hmm. Grateful.
we're gonna we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get
Let's
into it.
see. Let's
Introducing
get
to the
into it.
show, we have the amazing Tiffany Lloyd. Now, a little bit about Tiffany Lloyd now. She has a Bachelor of Science from the Morgan State University. She acquired that in 2005. She has a master's Black Excellence, a
Woohoo.
master's of
Clap it up.
business and administration that she received from the American Intercontinental
Six
University.
months.
That's a mouthful. Um, she has appeared
Yeah.
on syndicated TV and radio, from the Smiley J Artist Zone to Great
Yes.
Day Washington with various artists. Um,
Mhm.
WPFW 89.3 FM live. She's done a lot of things. She's performed live. I actually had the pleasure of being a part of one of her shows at the
Yes. State
winery.
winery. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was another one at Blues Alley.
Yes, the second one at Booz
Yeah,
Alley.
the
Sure
second one at
was.
Blues. So yeah, no, actually Blues Alley was first, and
Right,
then the winery was second.
right. That was a lot. That
Yeah.
was, yeah. Yep. Mhm.
And just like her energy, like she's always been consistent, one of the dopest people I've ever met, and I am grateful and happy to call her a friend of mine. So,
Oh, thanks, buddy.
oh,
Likewise.
in addition to that excellence, she is endorsed. So she is the first Black
Yeah.
female to be endorsed by Elric Bassist. If y'all don't know,
Mhm.
Elric Bassist is a guitar company, if I'm not mistaken.
It's a custom bass company.
Yeah, a
Bass
custom
guitar.
bass.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
they make custom basses, and she is endorsed by them. So
Yes, yes.
clap it up for her. Clap it up for her being the first. Now they are pretty big, and for her
Mhm.
to be the first
It's an
female
honor.
On top of her being black, come on, man, she making moves out here. Y'all gotta give it up
Trying
for
to
her.
look at you.
Like, excellent.
Thank
What's
you.
going on, everybody? I'm gonna try to
Hey,
be
hey.
more attentive and ping and wave everybody in here.
I know I'm trying to see.
Feel
Hey,
free
Desi.
to
Desi's
feel
in the
free to
house too.
interact as well. Feel free to
Yeah.
interact as well. This is an interactive platform.
Hmm.
So, with all of the accomplishments that you've had, did you face any oppression or like anybody just like not wanting to see you succeed? And how did you, before we get into any of that,
Ooh, yeah,
forgive
that's
me, forgive me. How is your vibe today? Have you checked your vibe today, buddy?
I have checked my vibe today. My vibe is pretty good. My vibe is pretty good. I try to be conscious of keeping bad vibes out because it's easy to let the bad vibes in. You could be
Mm-hmm.
around the wrong person or talk to the wrong person. Not the wrong person, but they might be in a negative vibe at that
Mm-hmm.
time, and you can easily slip in. So my vibe is good today. It's good.
Absolutely, absolutely. Whew. My
Thank
guy
you.
was all over the place trying to make sure that this came together, made sure I had everything situated because we have a lot to get into, you know.
Don't we? Yes.
Absolutely. So, in all of your accomplishments, like, start from the beginning, like, from when you made it a point to really chase being like the bass player that you are now.
Okay, that's a good one.
Mhm.
So from the beginning, I always aspired to be a musician. Well, a full-time musician. Like I started on piano, and then bass found me in high school.
Mhm.
I always wanted to be a professional bass player. I also wanted to be a professional model, and I also wanted to be a professional basketball player. So I had a lot,
Mhm.
but my main focus, my main really desire was to be a professional musician. So you know, for a while, I think the music industry gets a better rap now, but a lot of musicians, or I should say, musicianship gets a bad rap as far as stability. So,
Mhm.
imagine being now, I didn't face as much pushback, with my family and my parents, but I know a lot of other musicians that came up or wanted to come up playing any instrument, they face a lot of pushback, like, that's not a stable career. You need to get a real job, that kind of thing. And it's a misconception, that. But
Yeah.
um, the way I went after it, I was working regular jobs, I would say like regular shift type of jobs. You punch in on a clock and that type of thing. And I just went crazy. Like I did as many hours as I could and all that stuff because I did know the stigma is not all that false as far as it not being that stable. So you have to have a cushion, you have to
Definitely.
have
Gotta have a
multiple streams of
fallback.
income. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I made sure I was working in a gym as a trainer. I was a lifeguard for a while and I just did
Mhm.
a whole, and I was playing part-time as well. So I took gigs I would never take. I didn't have to
Mhm.
tell anybody. I just went and took them and did them and, just went about my way. But I just hustled hard. I hustled and saved and hustled and saved. I had to like kind of work overtime because I wasn't making that much money. So it's not like I could just save everything and build a
Mhm.
cushion. I had to pay bills. I was always paying my own rent and all that stuff. So I had to hustle hard, save up. Then I jumped out there. I found a job playing for a church. And I kind of waited until the demand for me was overtaking my schedule. So like I had a lot of calls for like studio work during the day. Couldn't do it, but it kept coming in. So I waited until that kind of like overtook everything, and then I jumped out there and went full time. And ever since I did that, it's been nonstop ever since, literally nonstop. So
Hey, amazing, amazing. You got actually right into my question. My next question, I was gonna say, so when was the turning point for you? But you just said like once you started
yeah.
getting like once you started seeing the demand increase, increase, increase,
Hmm.
that's when you decided to make that jump. So in that
Yeah.
process, talk about setting boundaries.
Hmm. Setting boundaries. There's a lot of boundaries to set. I know one I had to learn the hard way. Just
Mm-hmm.
because your calendar says you have the time to do it doesn't mean you should accept it. So starting out full time, I accepted almost every gig that came at me. And I found myself running myself into the ground because I was up around the clock studying for this session, going to the session, coming back, studying for this rehearsal, going to the rehearsal. studying for this gig, going to the gig, and I didn't sleep. So I had to set my own boundaries where just because I got the call, just because I was on the call, whatever, I had to set time boundaries, set yes, no boundaries. Um, then along the way, I got better as a musician, kept getting more calls. I had to set money boundaries. A lot
Mhm.
of people, oh, she's probably hungry, just call her, get her to play for $50. Boundaries. After a while, you keep pulling your weight, show up to the gig, know your music, do your thing. And when you do that, you can set boundaries. Like, you don't have to be mean about it. Just like, I'm sorry, I can't do it. This is my rate, and even
Respectfully.
refer somebody else. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So those are some of
Okay.
the boundaries.
Okay. So how have you dealt with people trying to overstep those boundaries within the music industry?
Respectfully.
Respectfully,
If
of
it's a
course.
time boundary, sometimes, you just
Where
have
does
to
the
stand
line
your
need to
ground
be drawn?
with like time boundaries
Yeah,
or,
without like ultimately being respectful of people's time, because that is the biggest thing, especially
oh,
when it
yeah.
comes to like sound checks and stuff like that. Like I didn't pull it up to one of your gigs, and I'm just like, yo,
What's
you
going
know
on?
what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
So if it's like my show, that's one thing for me, and I'll get into that too with boundaries and setting boundaries and how to deal with that. And then if it's me showing up to another show or another gig, a lot of times I just look at it like this: time is money. So if you want me to come out to a rehearsal way out west at the last minute, I'm
mhm,
charging you because I could be sitting home shedding on something else. 9 times out of 10, I have other things that I'm supposed to be working on. So little things like that, you have to make sure you set those boundaries. You can work with people, be lenient, be flexible, but not to the point where you're undercutting yourself. Because if my resume, not being cocky, dude, my resume says all this,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm acting like I ain't have no boundaries, I can't get mad if somebody treats me like I don't have any boundaries,
That's a
treats me
good
like I'm a
question,
$5
Aaron.
musician. Yeah, so I've had
Aaron said,
to.
"How do you value your
Oh,
work?"
how do I value? Well, the best way I can say I value my work is to not, like, say I'm laying a track or playing on a gig. I don't stop until it sounds close to perfect to me. It's never perfect. But if I can get it as close to perfection as I can, how do you deal with payment disputes? Well, I try to make sure there are no payment disputes. One thing I do is I say up front what I'm charging. I do use contracts a lot. You can
Absolutely,
you can't argue with what it says on the
absolutely.
paper. So
Especially if
yeah,
they signed it.
especially if they signed it. And then in the music industry, your word is your bond. If you mess up on somebody, I mean, I'm a quiet one, but I know a lot of people, so I'm not going to recommend you to somebody, again, if you kind of messed over me. So the last time I had to deal with a real payment issue, I just declined a gig. It was one particular band, long, long, long time ago. Not saying no
Hmm.
names, but a long, long time ago. And the guy just, every time he would say he's going to pay me one amount at the end of
Hmm.
the gig. Oh, I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
stopped going. Simple as that. I
I
mean, you
feel it.
don't give them three chances. Don't give them two chances. So, but yeah, that's one of
So
the ways. Mm-hmm.
that is amazing. See, and it's
It's,
crazy because like you're firm in who you are and your worth,
mm-hmm.
and that's one of the biggest things that I respect about you. And
Thank you.
that is one of the epitomes of black ownership because like you are your brand. So
Yes.
can you harp on that on how important your brand is to you,
Mm-hmm.
and like with your brand being as important to you, how that has you conduct yourself in everyday life.
Okay. So my brand is very important to me. Obviously, I like to. It's fun for me to think of ways to build my brand. Um, my thing is, you are your own impression. You're the only one that can represent yourself. So, like, it kind of goes back to that resume thing. You can see my resume, but it has to reflect how I show up on the gig. It has to reflect on how I, you know, perform on the gig, and how I execute the gig. So, I mean, there's a lot of people in the industry where their resume says one thing and they get in rehearsal and it's like, so branding is very, 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 very important.
How was the
How the
shoot
video
with
shoot with
the
the
band
is a
Is the
flow.
Flow and Elena Sierra?
Oh, it was great. It was great. That was just yesterday. But wait, let me go back to Brandon. Also, a lot of things are reflected in branding too.
Right.
Money, your representation. You don't show up to the gig. If they tell you wear all black, don't show up in blue. Little things. It's not always the big stuff that is branding. Also, I think it's important to advertise yourself and conduct yourself online and in public places professionally. You don't
Definitely.
want to go off the handle talking about all kinds of crazy stuff online that you should just maybe keep between you and your friends offline. You have to also make sure that, for me, one thing is, a lot of people try to challenge me to see if I'm going to get mad about something and react online. And I'm like, the best response is no response. So that's another way I kind
Right.
of, keep my brand intact, because branding is everything. There's some
How
other
do you
questions for me.
determine this? How do you determine your studio rate?
Well, I think the best way is to first see what the going rate is and then
Mm.
place yourself in there. How much experience do you have? How much, what kind of calls are you getting? And some of the stuff that you mentioned earlier, buddy, is it goes into it too. Like if you have a lot of experience, a lot of sponsors, a lot of endorsements,
Okay.
that kind of raises your brand a little bit, so your race. Like, but one important thing about race, though, I will say, whether this your studio rate, your um, performance rate, it should always increase. But it should only increase if your brand and your resume is increasing and your skill set. That's probably the biggest thing. So you have to put the time in. You have to study to show yourself approved. You can't charge, $1,000 per concert if you can't play in every key and you can't have follow notes and stuff. You're all about the ear. No knock to that, but I'm just saying, if you're not that versatile, you can't. I don't want to say you can't. You shouldn't charge what Adam Black's not charging or something. So yeah, just my thoughts on that.
So you
So
mentioned early in your journey that you wanted to try modeling and a bunch of other things. So when did you realize that you wanted to try being the best at playing the bass? And what advice can you give to somebody else at like them just being the best at whatever they're doing in their respective process, you know?
okay. So I discovered that I wanted to be the best bass player I could possibly be. In
Mm,
high school, I was 16. It was shortly after that I was interested in modeling. But as far as playing bass, I literally from day one applied myself to practice, practice, practice for hours and hours. And I got with, a bass tutor, and he was like, "Yeah, you need to practice." I think he said 8 hours a day, and I was like, 8 hours a day. That's a lot of hours. But when I
mm,
sat down and really started going through all the exercises and things that he wanted me to do, it took me 8 hours. And I realized that I said, wait a minute, if I want to be a full time musician, I got to put in full time hours before I get that big break. So that was one thing that I definitely did as far as, somebody's laughing at me. That was one big thing that I did as far as setting myself up to be the best bass player that I could possibly be. The modeling thing, when I first really was introduced to it,
mm.
I didn't necessarily rule it out. I just knew that at the time I didn't have the discipline and the time to put into that life if I wanted to be a full time bass player. It was going to be one or the other at the time. So through like all the years of practicing, and that takes a whole lot of discipline, a whole lot of discipline. I developed discipline. And then when I started really getting heavily into working out and really getting in shape and building my brand that way as well, that was even more discipline. So finally, the pandemic hits. And the
Mm.
majority, I would say 90% of our income is online for musicians. So now I have the time to put into print modeling and stuff. And that's how I was able, but also I had the discipline. So that's how I was able to segue into that. But Yeah, as far as like wanting to be the best bass player or anybody out there that wants to be the best at whatever they're wanting to be,
Hmm.
discipline, apply yourself. You have to literally sacrifice sometimes your social life a little bit, but also don't follow the masses all the time. Study the greats. Don't always, you
Definitely.
know, yeah, listen to the people that are pouring into you that are where you want to be, not necessarily where you are. Not to knock the people that are where you are, but if you want to be great, you got to listen to the greats. You got to study the greats.
People that has
You got
done
to
it
work like the
before you.
greats. Yes.
Yeah,
And it doesn't
definitely.
have to be the music industry. I study a lot of actors and actresses and things like that.
The
Kobe Bryant.
mentality.
Yeah, it's a whole mindset. That's all it is. Well, most of
So
what it is.
talk about the mindset for you, because after all, this is vibe check. So
Yeah.
like when you mentally prep yourself for a show,
Mhm.
like walk us through your day.
Okay. I first of all, I put my phone on do not disturb, but for the most part, because it is certain things I learned over the years. You have to watch what you let get into your space, which is really your mindset. So you
Mm-hmm.
can get an alarming text message, you can get an alarming email call, and it can knock your whole vibe off,
Mm-hmm.
literally. And it doesn't have to be a negative thing that came through. It could just be something that can just shake you up. It can be distracting. So, and I talked about distractions in one of my concerts too. So,
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I'll definitely try to prep myself. I'll try to be by myself a lot before a gig. I definitely, one thing, it could be looked at as a bad habit, but to me, it's not really. I practice until like, for that show, until I pretty much could fall asleep practicing. So I like to feel overly comfortable, if that makes sense.
Overconfident.
Overconfident, yeah. I think that's the best way, and then you could just go have fun. So that's my main. And then also, this might sound weird, but I don't eat before shows because I feel like I'm.
Are you,
We've had that talk. Yeah, I feel like I'm super alert when I don't have food in my system. So I'll wait until the show's over, whether it's my gig, like my show, my personal concert, or for somebody else.
yeah,
That's the
that
yeah. That's
you
my
need to
day.
eat more. You
I
need to
know.
eat more before your shows.
Yeah.
So overall,
Overall,
I appreciate you stopping in.
thank you for
Overview,
having
how
me.
is your vibe right now? How are you feeling?
I feel great. This is a great, positive, deep conversation. I really like. I feel great. My vibe is good. How are you guys feeling out there? Let's see who's on.
Yeah, let's see who's on. See who's
I
all out
recognize
there.
somebody. Dejira, Desi. I see a few. Oh, like
Paying attention to
some
some of
people I don't
the
really know. Charles, look, that's another positive guy. That's my
Charles.
friend, Charles Clark. Hey, Charles. He has worked with some of the biggest greats. And oh, thank you, girl. You're killing the game. Thank you. You are too. Charles, look, you
Oh,
follow
we
him,
had
you'll
a
see nothing
question
but
that came in too.
oh, there's another one. How was the video shoot? I don't mean to laugh, but it was really, really good. I'm just gonna wait. You exclude. Oh, thank you, Desi. You exclude. She is another positive, super positive um, person for real. Like
Desiree.
I am
Hmm.
Desiree. She works out with me.
Desiree. Oh
So
my
the
bad.
oh yeah,
Oh yeah,
the
yeah. So the question was, I'm gonna bring it back up for you.
how was the video shoot with the band? Is the flow and Alina Salier? It's clearly that's Alina. So she's a lead guitarist, and the video shoot was great. It really
Uh,
it really was. It really was. It was at Union Station yesterday, and it was long. But that's how video shoots go. That's another thing I've been doing a lot of is, video shoots during the pandemic. But
let's
yeah,
talk
so
about
it was
that.
good.
Is it fun?
It's a
So
lot of
like, what is
fun.
it? What is it that you? What is it that they have you doing?
Mostly you're playing bass, but you're mimicking what you probably already played. So because
Hmm.
it's a video, so yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it. I love anything that's entertainment. So whether it's music, videos, whatever, both
Cool,
modeling, all
cool.
that. But yeah,
Modeling.
all of that.
Speaking of
Yeah,
modeling, you have been taking a lot of great pictures. Y'all can tap
thank
into her
you,
profile to see all of her work. And
thank
make
you.
sure y'all go into one of my favorites, go on Apple Music, Viscosity.
Ah, nice.
one of her tracks. My
Yes.
personal favorite. It's very, very
Thank you,
nice.
buddy.
Tiff, I appreciate you. Blessings for having you here.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you. Also,
Already
y'all
on.
don't forget to also download Paradise. That's my single
Oh yeah, plug
that
yourself
actually
in.
got
Don't
published in
don't
the
forget to plug yourself in. Let them know what you're doing out here.
hey, so now I'm working on my EP. That I'm not gonna make no promises like I did for Paradise, but Paradise is out. That's on all the platforms. It came out last January, so right before the pandemic started.
Hmm.
Um, Also, you can go to my website. So I'm also on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, obviously on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn. I need to check those messages a little bit more. But if you go to my website, TiffsBass.com, you have all the links to all of my social channels. Videos that you see on here on Instagram, they're also on my website. I have a YouTube channel. So everything's at TiffsBass. So Apple Music, TiffsBass. Now, Viscosity, Buddy, your favorite is under Tiffany Lloyd, my regular name. So,
Yeah.
you know, yeah. So, but
But other than
thank
that,
you.
tips base everything.
Tiff's
Make sure you
base everything.
subscribe to her
Yes.
website so you can get
Mhm.
all of the notifications of all of the things that she has going on.
Yes. Oh, let me
Tap
one more
into it.
plug. I have a monthly newsletter. So go to my website, everybody, sign up for the newsletter. And wherever I'm performing, most of that's online right now. You'll you'll get the notifications every month or every other month. If there's a new interview like this one I just did, that'll be on my website. So if you want to go back and watch it, soon it'll be there available and everything. So
Definitely.
yeah.
Definitely. Blessings. Blessings.
Thank
All
you.
right, Tiff, you in the studio right now. It look like you
I
about to go lay
am
something down. I
real
appreciate
quick.
you taking the time out of your day to hop on the
Thank
live
you.
humbly. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you. This was fun. I was looking forward to it. Thank
Definitely
you.
me
Thank
too as
you.
well.
Thank you. All right.
All right, all right. So that was lit. Let's see who we about to bring in. We're about to bring in. Let's see. I got one. Gonna bring in the homie because we're gonna talk about this project that he got going on.